All right. Happy Friday, everyone. We are back again. It's been a couple weeks since we were with you last time. So, welcome to Paint by the Pints. Some of you are brand new. We had a lot of brand new people signing on with us tonight, especially because it's a beautiful staycation themed event. Jill, when we came across this painting, weren't we like, oh, it's perfect? Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it
Uh,
just popped out. It was gorgeous. We had to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really nice. And I think everyone's kind of in staycation mode. So I want to say a special welcome to all of those who are on a staycation right now and doing this together in their group of friends or with their family. It's absolutely wonderful. So do let us know who you're with tonight. We always love seeing it. You can write into the comments on YouTube. And as well, as we're kind of going, we also wanted to let you know that we are working through getting our calendar up for in-person events. We're obviously taking it very carefully and making sure every protection and any PPE gear and everything like that is going to be in place before we start doing those. So those should be up in the next 2 weeks. We'll have a calendar kind of up and running for the fall, the autumn. And as well, of course, we're doing our private events. We're very busy behind the scenes, which has been a lot of fun. I think yesterday we shipped packages to Singapore, India, all over the States, Canada. It's been really fun to see kind of how far the packs go. So if you're one of those people getting a Paint by the Pints pack in the corner of the universe, do let us know. We love seeing that. And if you take any pictures tonight or videos, make sure you share them. We're just Paint by the Pints on Instagram and Facebook. So tonight's painting is really special. It's actually just the cutest little Irish cottage. It's kind of something you'd see if you're going up to Donegal or in Kerry or wherever you are in Ireland, because we're all, I'd say, kind of in an 8-hour radius, if you will. So, right, we'll get started with the painting and then I'll do some shout outs. So, if you have any shout outs for me, as usual, just ping us on Instagram or Facebook and we'll make sure we get those out to you. So, we'll go ahead and start with the initial kind of beginning. All right. So, this one was a cool one because we're actually using tons of different color, which we try to do anyways, but there's a lot of green, different shades.
Yeah, this was fun for me to use more colors because normally we do tend to use just the basic 5. But with this painting and the variations of the greens and the yellows, I just felt like we definitely needed more to make this really pop and make it really. So, and this is the same colors that come in all of those packs that Chris sends out. So, and I'm literally just putting a little smudge of those, of every single one of those paint colors out.
So I had a beautiful staycation last weekend and it was so nice. We went up to Donegal and it was so nice that we decided we're gonna book another one. Literally, we left our Airbnb and that night we went home and booked pretty much a very similar location. So it was just such a difference to get away and to do something fun. And I've been seeing all of those wonderful ads of like Discover Ireland and Fáilte Ireland, and it was so tempting. Everyone's packing their suitcase, and what do you bring, and what's your go-to thing? And I was just like, I have to get away. I have to do something. Oh, it was just so worth it. It was so nice. It's great for all the little businesses around, isn't it?
Yeah. I haven't been up to Donegal. It's on my to-do list.
Donegal is amazing. It's so beautiful. Absolutely. All right, we're mixing. We're getting started. I love this. I'm so excited. We're back.
We're getting a little bit of that phthalo blue color. It's that darker blue. and a little smidge of that alizarin crimson. And we're just making a purple and adding a lot of white to it because we want our sky to be a very pale lavender color. So, and if you have a lot of white to put out, then put out a lot of white because we're going to be using a lot of white in this as well, as we do probably every painting we do.
I know.
We're all white.
Absolutely. We're gonna have to add like extra big white tube of paint for the avid painter kit that we have on our paintwithpints.com because
Yeah.
it's funny, like you just tend to go through so much of like the lighter colors because especially if you mix, a little too much of the dark color, then you're trying to compensate with the extra white paint or the extra yellow. My yellows and my white paint just they go so quick.
Yeah, so mix this to your preference. I do keep kind of adding a little bit more blue and a little bit more of the alizarin crimson color. And both of these colors are very transparent, so adding that white also makes it more opaque. So, but you have to kind of, go back and forth and see what you kind of like, because this is going to be the sky. So do you want it too blue? Do you want it more red? Like, it really depends on what style that you want to have. So, just keep working that in and mixing it up. And don't forget to kind of turn your brush onto your palette to try to take away some of that excess paint that keeps balling up on your paintbrush. You can see every now and then I will spin my paintbrush, and that's just to get that excess off. Since I used all my alizarin crimson, I just kind of refilled, and we're going to make a nice orange color. And this is going to, so it's going to be like a peachy orange color, but still, again, very, very pale. It's not going to be a bright orange. A really nice, soft, peachy, peachy orange with streaks of white in it. So we're going to be, when we paint the clouds, we'll do that peachy color and then put in some highlights of the white and some low light shading with a little bit of that purple as well. So we'll get to mix all that in. This was such a fun painting to paint. Like, I love the colors. I love the lavender. I love that bluish green turquoise mountains in the background.
And there's so many different combinations. Like when I saw it's almost like the turquoise mountains, I'm like, okay, if it was me, I would have gone for like a dark purple. Like there's so many different ways you can go with this. So if you're looking at the colors and like, oh, I don't have those, that's fine. Just as I would say, as long as it's not green, because that's what the grass is going to be, just a slight variation of that, you can go for it. You can even do like a brown or black mountain. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that either. I'd say brown would be a little less forgiving.
Whenever you're doing the mountains in the background, make sure that the mountains in the background are paler color or a more pastel color. So definitely add white to whatever color you decide to paint your mountains, because if your mountains are stark and bright or the same value as the colors that are in the front of the picture that you're painting, it's not going to look right. Like the mountains are way in the background, so because of the atmospheric perspective, they're definitely going to be faded or kind of foggy looking. So that's why you kind of want to add a lot of white to your background colors.
Yeah,
because it really pushes them back.
Exactly. And it really is kind of three tones. You obviously have like the clouds that are going in the top, and then you have a really pastel color, kind of a medium color, and then the one on the left is a very dark color. And doing that purposefully because like you said, you want it to be light, like really far away, medium, it's kind of there, and then the dark one is kind of close by and quite large.
Yeah. So you have these 4 bunches of colors on your palette, the lavender, the peach, and then we did a phthalo blue with the phthalo green. And those are the 2 transparent blues and greens. and we mixed those up to create that turquoisey color, and then we just added a little bit more of that blue to make it darker for that mountain that's more in the middle part of the painting. So as I'm kind of painting this, I realized that this is really, really dark purple, and I definitely want to light it up. So I literally just took a huge chunk of white and painted it on and mixed it straight onto the canvas.
I think it adds a little more texture as well, so I kind of like that. It looks really cool.
Yeah, definitely. It gives that sky movement when you've got those streaks as well, and that's the great thing about painting is that if you put a color on it and you don't like it, you can change it.
Right.
And sometimes it works out to where it really looks great and nice and streaky. So without even cleaning my brush, I picked up some of that peachy color, and I'm literally just kind of dabbing it on, or kind of scrumbling it on above that purple. And this is going to be a little bit tricky because purple and that orangey color are opposite colors. So if you over mix them too much, then they start getting kind of brown. So you'd want to avoid that. So you just kind of want to softly blend in those edges, but put that creamy color on top of that purple paint without mixing it too much.
This is my favorite type of painting, by the way. I love when it's like, and don't even wash the brush, just keep going, because you're gonna pull those colors in, and people are like, really? Can I be? It's hard, I think, especially if you're very used to being, specifically like very clean or tidy. This can be a very hard process. So we're inviting you to just let go of everything and just kind of have fun with it. Let go on a Friday night, right? That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Even just at that point there, I just pointed out some on my paintbrush, because I didn't wash it out, I still had some of that purple, that darker purple, on the inside of my bristles close to the handle. And then as I pushed my paintbrush down onto the canvas, that purple kind of squished out, and that helped blend that shady purple color into that peachy cloud. So it's just kind of playing around with your tools and seeing what techniques kind of work. That technique might not work for everybody, or they may not like that technique, and that's fine. But I was just kind of going with it, and I started smudging it on. So I went with it. So
yeah.
It's not a very, they didn't teach me that in art school.
Exactly. But I think it's also like finding the right level of too much water, not enough, you know what I mean? And for this, I've even seen people go in, you can even kind of put the peachy color on like a paper towel even, and go at it like a sponge, if that works best for you. Especially if you have kids with you, that's a great way to go. It's an easy way to go.
Yeah, and clouds are tough. Clouds are so hard, and I've keep wanting to just make a painting just of clouds, just so I can learn and teach myself how to paint like clouds and get the gradation of light and the highlights and the lowlights and shadows right. Because I mean, they're so freeform, but there's so much structure to it as well. So clouds are very tough. So with clouds, you definitely want to get that shading, and then that middle tone, and then the lighter tone, and then the highlights. So you can see right there, I grabbed some white, and I'm just putting some highlights right on the very edge of where those shadows and those highlights are, and then blending that in. And that gives those clouds that layered look.
It was funny because when we picked this, sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, when we picked this painting, I'm like, look at the layers. We're going to be here forever. But no, I really do think this is a sneaky painting because it's a lot easier than it looks, And I think this is also one that when I paint this type of painting, I'm like, okay, I like it. And then I might do a second version with different colors or maybe different strokes because you'll get a sense for it. But it's fun because look at, like right now, we're building on our next mountain layer. There's so much to it.
Yeah, this is a a really quick painting. There's not, the only lines that you really have to worry about is on that little tiny house. And those are basic shapes, rectangles and triangles. And that's it. Like, it's, and even that house being as simple as it is, it's the rectangles and the triangles put together, then it just comes down to shading. So when you break it down into these simple steps, like anybody can do it. And that's what I love about this. And you can be as messy and as quick as you want. Your mountains don't have to have a defined edge. Your grass certainly doesn't have a defined edge. And even your house, if you don't want it to be proper crisp lines, you don't have to.
Yeah, like I always say, mountains, anything landscape, very forgiving. It doesn't have to look like something specific. Whereas when we paint the Guinness Toucan, I got so many emails and messages and texts this week. Could you send me stencils? Or, if we want to do this, could you make us up stencils? And I'm like, absolutely, we can create all that for you. But by all means, do try. Like, give it a go. See how it goes. You might be surprised by just getting the first few primary lines in of any kind of formation. Even like we're hoping to do like a paint your dog kit and just literally going off based on what your pet looks like based on a picture that you send in. It's so simple. And it just seems so kind of daunting because you're like, well, I couldn't paint a dog. But with an easy stencil, it's very doable.
Yes. So now we're doing the background grass, and we're adding white to it because, again, it's in the background, so you don't want it to be as crisp and clear and bright as your foreground. And there are these beautiful rolling hills on the left, and you can see the ridges in the hills. And then on the right side of the building, it's just kind of smudgy. It doesn't have any defined grass in it. So I'm literally just scrumbling it on and curling my brush around and slopping it on. I mean,
It's very informal, exactly. Just go for it.
Yeah, the most important thing about this is just taking your time. And if you don't like it, you can add more layers to it. And the more layers you kind of put on it will make those colors richer. You can still make a beautiful, rich background color that isn't bright and jumps out. So, and just take your time. And your canvas, I'm doing this on actual acrylic paper. So this is going to act differently than if it was on a canvas, whereas your canvas, you might have more texture to it, and that's fine. If it gets kind of transparent, just give it a quick blow dry and then put another layer on it or add a little bit more white to it. So these rolling hills is a pretty good example of that transparency as well. That green, you can still see through the background of it. You can still see that dark mountain, but by adding layers to it, it'll just very quickly cover that up.
I notice here as well, like the brush strokes make a difference. So if you're dabbing, you kind of get those it almost looks like it's a bushy background. And then if you have like the long diagonal strokes, it looks like a plane of a field or like a rolling hill, if you will, which is really nice. So play around with that as well. You guys can get creative, use different, as we're adding on different colors, you'll see a lot more options, but play around with the actual brush stroke.
Yeah, and those rolling hills on the left, that diagonal line brings your eye to that building. And then the grass underneath of it goes the other diagonal, which takes your eye through the rest of the painting. So the lines of your paint strokes will also help lead your eye throughout the entire painting. So we're just giving it a quick blow dry so that we can continue to add layers on top of this grass. This is the small brush that I'm using. And I'm just going to kind of outline my house. And you're just going to start with the side wall that's kind of facing you. And it's just a rectangle. So just make a small rectangle, about the size of your thumb, I would say. Maybe a little bit smaller. It's up to you. You can make it larger. It's going to be just left or just right of center. So you want it not smack dab in the center of the painting, just off to the left. And it will give it a little bit of an aesthetic. So you can, so the house is right of center, and then you can add big flowers at the bottom to the left, and that will help balance your painting out. So there's your rectangle. And then it doesn't have to be a clean white because we're just kind of doing the base layer. And so you just want to kind of sketch that in and then fill it in. And then once it dries, then we'll put a different layer on it. So then there's a triangle on top of that rectangle.
I know so many people are like, I can't do it. You guys can do it. It's a rectangle and it's a triangle. And then you've just defined that
tiny square on top.
Little tiny square. Give the house a little hat, if you will. Little chimney.
Yeah. So that's just your front face. Now we're going to go from the bottom of that chimney straight across, and you see that diagonal line of the roof. We want to continue on that same diagonal and pull that all the way across to the other side of the roof. But just try to make the opposite side of the roof on that same diagonal as the other side. And just quickly fill that in. And then here's your second rectangle. It's not a thick white, it's a very thin white. So even just add a tiny drop of water to help it flow a little bit easier. Here is the edge. Just making that a little bit thicker. And then adding a tiny little square on top of that. Now this long diagonal line is going to be the wall. And again, it's just a very thin layer of white that's going on top of. So now I'm going to let that dry a little bit. So we're going to pick up some of our yellow. And this is where we're going to put those highlights and those yellow streaks in that field that's over there. And you can see it's very translucent. You can see through that straight away. So add some white to your yellow to give it some more opacity. And you're just going to put a chunk of yellow on the top of that field and then pull that color down towards the lower end of that field, towards the house. And it can be chunks of color, it can be streaks. I think at this point I'm just kind of playing with it to see what kind of works for me. And so just putting the big chunks of color up top and then pulling it down seems to work okay.
The other thing I thought of, Jill, which was your idea before, is like using some sort of like loyalty card. The equivalent of like a credit card can be used as like a palette knife if you don't have one handy. And you can kind of play around with it that way as well, just to pull the colors in, pull it through. Just if you're looking for some new technique, that's always a good one.
Yeah, we should totally do a painting that's completely painted by your
like super value loyalty card.
Right.
Imagine the stream is sponsored by it. No.
Your IKEA family card.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have to get
that never gets used.
We'll get a sponsored stream. Oh, I love my IKEA family card. Yep. It always goes to good use. It's a dangerous place, that place. You can't walk out with just one thing.
I know. I went there the other day. Did I tell you this?
Oh, wow. I heard, yeah, it's very well put together, I heard.
It was, actually. I stood in line for an hour and 7 minutes, and I timed it. And, but once you got in, it was so smooth sailing. Even, like, the till was so well done. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So here we're doing, like, a dark, bushy hedge, I guess, is what it's properly called here. Just a hedge at the end of that wall, and it is going to be a dark green color. So, and that's going to separate the mid-ground. That middle ground is going to separate the background to the foreground. So, and we're grabbing some more white, and this is our second layer white that's really going to make that white really nice and clean and clear. So we're just going to put another layer on there. And for this, I mean, it's easy to go left and right and just make long brush strokes from left to right. But if I'm doing like a small wall like this, I can see the brush strokes. So that's why I'm always pulling down, starting from the top of the wall and pulling down, because that's how I kind of picture the wall being. And it kind of helps that wall stand up taller. And now we're using a little bit of that pale blue in just that little bit of a corner. It's like an upside down L. And this is the shadow for that white wall. And this darker blue is in the shade, the shadow of the house. So when that wall hits right up against that house, it's going to be darker. And then as it kind of pulls away from the house, it's going to get a little bit lighter. So you just want to blend that in. And you can add a little bit of purple of that to give it some reflective light from the sky.
I love the shading here. I feel like it just makes, it was like the first thing I noticed when I looked at the house. It's so nice.
It's so subtle, but it makes such a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes it kind of just brings it to life. It goes from 2D to like just popping out at you.
Yeah, so you're going to take this medium blue and you are going to very carefully just add a medium blue line on the very side of that chimney, down the side. You're kind of outlining that white. You want that blue right up to that edge line, but you don't want it too thick because you want a little bit of that bright white line to kind of separate the edge of that and the roof. And you can see it in the thumbnail, not very well, but there is a very pale or medium blue line that goes down along the edge of that roof and then down the side of that house, as you can see much better, in the painting. And now that dark blue right underneath of that roof, again, that's the shadow that's right underneath of that roof line. Now we're going to make a paler blue color, and that's going to be the whole front of the house. We're going to blend it into that darker blue. And I think because I used the blue shading in the house, that's why I decided to use a different color for the sky, because I really wanted this blue in the house to stand out and stand on its own.
Absolutely. And you'll notice that like it doesn't even look blue when you're looking at the finished product. So keep that in mind. Just kind of, yeah, I was going to say trust the process, but we'll go.
Yeah, so here again is outlining that little dark blue line is the shade, the shadow of the edge of that wall onto the front of the house. And here is that little streak of bright white between the edge of that wall line and the roof. And then you want to just fill in that front side of that wall with the pure white to really make it stand out. And I even put a little bit of purple in there to reflect a little bit of that color from the sky, but just a teeny tiny amount. And then I'll add more white to it just to give it some depth to it and texture. Now back to some of that dark blue, and we are going to paint just a dark blue kind of broken wall off to the right side. That's what I kind of imagined it was. I don't really know exactly what it was, but that's what I kind of figured it was. And then this little white line on top of that is just going to be the highlight of the light reflecting off the top of that wall. Again, it's such a small detail that you probably wouldn't miss it if you didn't put it in, but that bluey periwinkle color just breaks up that background from that foreground. Now the roof is that yellow golden ochre color. It's a beautiful color. I love this color so much.
I know. I was gonna say, I know you love this color. It's so nice. And it is true to the thatched roof.
Yeah. And then you're just going to fill in that whole roof, but please remember to not fill in that white line right there onto the left of that roof. And again, this isn't neat. This isn't, it's actually very, very textured. And I'm just kind of dabbing the paint on. And then I'm taking the tiniest amount of this burnt sienna, and then I'm mixing it with some of the yellow ochre. And now we're gonna add some shading to that to give that roof some color and dimension. So we're just going right along that edge. I'm actually adding a little bit of red to it just to brighten it up a bit. That alizarin crimson. It's like a reddish, I don't know, how do you describe a alizarin crimson? It's not red, it's not bright red, but it's like a burgundy-ish.
It's almost, I would say it's nearly on the orangey scale. Orangey brown.
Yeah, so now we're gonna kind of work it down. It's not gonna be a straight down and a straight across. It's gonna have a nice curve to it. And we're just gonna kind of blend these colors in. There's not gonna be a solid line. And then as you kind of work your way to the bottom of that roof, your burnt sienna is going to be where that darkest shading is that we're putting in now. And then right along the bottom of that roof, where it kind of hangs off to the edge. And then we're just going to tap that color into the rest of the roof color. And then add just a tinge of black for that final edge there. And then just keep lightly, very, very lightly with the very tip of your paintbrush, just kind of work your paintbrush back and forth and take off any excess, clean it, tap off the excess water. Now for that phthalo blue and a little bit of black, we're going to do the windows. I'm adding that phthalo blue just to give that black color a little bit of depth to it. Like, it's not a flat black. I didn't want a flat black color, so I feel like adding a little bit of that blue will help that window not look so painted on. Like, I want to give it some depth. I feel like that the blue and the black does that. So just these little tiny squares. Underneath, and then there's going to be a long line straight down, and then that's going to be the frame of the door. I'm just cleaning up those edges. And this is the most time-consuming part of this entire painting, is painting this house.
Absolutely. I mean, but it's probably the most important detail. And like when I was looking at it, if I was going to add something to it, because I'm always about adding fun little things, I would totally put a little tiny bike on the side of my house. Like a little tiny outline of a bike.
Oh, that would have been so cute.
Yeah. So the sky is the limit. Literally. You could do birds, you could do anything, but I'm definitely adding a little bike to mine for cycling.
So we used that bright red color, and then we took that bright red and added some burnt sienna and black to it, and then I painted that darker red underneath of the roof and then pulled it down, and that tones that red down with the shadow of it, but you still want the bottom of that door to be a bright red because the light would probably reach the bottom of that door, where the roof would cover the top of that door. Now we are moving on to the rest of the grass. So I'm mixing that phthalo green, which is that darker green, transparent green, with a little bit of that light green, and then adding some yellow to it. And now we are just brushing it on the rest. Now, when you go up against your building, you just want to put your paint on and then pull it up and just swoosh it up. And then that will just be the grass kind of blowing in the wind. It's not cut, it's just a field of overgrown grass, and it's got movement. So you want to pull your brush strokes up. And it can be different tones of green. You definitely want as many tones of green in here as you can, because you've got deep blues, and you can put reds in it, and the yellows and the oranges. And you want your brush strokes closer to the house to be smaller, because they're farther away. You don't want that grass so defined, because it is farther away and you can't see those details. But as you kind of work your way down the painting, you are essentially coming closer to the grass. So your grass is going to grow longer. It's going to be more movement, more energy. So you'll not need to, but you'll want to be more excited and energetic with your brush strokes as you work your way down. And you can add some yellow and more tones to it. And here I literally just took a chunk of yellow and just kind of working your way in.
This is again messy. I love it. Not even cleaning our brush in between.
Yeah. You can go from your cad yellow, which is very transparent, to your lemon yellow is transparent and bright, and it's a blue tone yellow, like a cool yellow. And then your cad yellow is opaque and it's a little bit more warm. So you can definitely go between the two yellows as well, and it just adds more dimension and depth to that grass. Add some white too, to help cover up any of the lines that aren't being covered. And again, the more layers you put on it, the more depth it's going to give to it. And if it starts getting kind of muddy and blended, then you can stop, you can blow dry it, and clean your brush really, really well, get clean colors, and kind of just start all over. And then again, just work your way through it, and it won't hurt the painting at all. Now these are just big, vicious strokes. So like, I'm not being careful with this at all.
I love this. Just go for it. So, the fun thing about tonight's stream is actually we are also live on Instagram. And so if you're just joining us, Paint by the Pints is what we do. And we are literally doing our Friday night stream. So welcome if you're just joining us. If you want to get the full version of what you're watching, you can catch it on YouTube, just Paint by the Pints virtual. And tonight's is an Irish cottage, but we've been doing this for, oh my goodness, Jill, what, 12 weeks?
Yeah.
More? 16? How long?
I think so, more. Yeah.
How long have we been in lockdown? I'm not even sure. So it's kind of exciting. We basically just do online tutorials, and we do kits on our website. So that way you can grab it. And as we do in every event, we bring our hairdryer out, right? It's a necessity. Hairdryers aren't just for fashion.
Yeah. And you can't see it, but in this painting, I have a cup of coffee behind the thumbnail. And while I'm hair drying, like I'm drinking my coffee.
Now that is my kind of painting. I love that. It's brilliant.
And I have to have my coffee, like anytime I have a drink while I'm painting, like I have to have it on like the left side, because all my paint water is on my right side. And if I have my cup on my right side, then I am bound to put my paintbrush in my cup.
It happens. We always have casualties, right? I think every corporate event I've done in the last month, there's always been the, ooh, or you hear like the water spilling in the cup and you just like, oh, is it bad? Is it on the carpet? No? Okay, that's not so bad. It's okay. It cracks me up. Oh, tonight I meant to do a special shout out. We have a pint-sized painter. One of our little kids has joined us tonight with a fractured wrist, I believe it was. So the mom asked us to do a special shout out. She is still painting. Didn't stop her from joining our stream this weekend. So well done, Anna. We're so proud of you, and we cannot wait to see your creation.
Well done, Anna.
Yeah, it's really, it's what makes it special for us, is kind of hearing what you guys do and how you find our events. So keep the news coming.
I love our pint-sized painters.
I know. We always love, because especially if like the mom or dad will send it to us directly, and so we'll send it to the team just so they can see like what they've created, and our whole team is like, go on, Anna, great job. Like, you should see our group chat is just like a group of cheerleaders ready to go, rearing ready to go. It's so excited.
So yeah, while we were chatting, I just put some white blobs of different sized shapes on the bottom here, and these is going to be the base of our poppies. And yeah, they're just different shapes. You want large poppies and medium and small little dots, and the more shapes that you have in there, the better. Now you're going to use your CAD red for this, and you can see that I'm dividing it into 3 different blobs there. So you want to mix a little bit of black with the top one for your dark red, for your shading, your shadows. And then we're going to start with that, but we're not going to fill in the entire white blob with this dark red. So for the smaller ones, the smaller size flowers will be that entire dark red color, but for the larger ones, you want to just take a small section, or like the bottom part of that flower on the side, and just do little quick shadings of that. And you can see there, I'm not painting in the entire white blob. I'm just doing like streaks of that dark color there. And then I'm pulling some of that darker red off, and then with our middle red, we're going to make like a middle tone red. And then I'm just painting on top of that. So it's not perfect. There's no perfect shaped flower. I mean, it's just smudging it in there. It's just about having fun and creating that red against that green, and it just pops because they are complete opposites on the color wheels, so they are going to pop.
I think as well, like I always am devil's advocate for here, but you can also do some yellow flowers. It'll work well, but poppies I think they make this painting. I absolutely love it. You could definitely do this with sunflowers as well, couldn't we, Jill?
Yes. That would take more time, but you could absolutely do it. And I love sunflowers. I actually have sunflowers in my kitchen right now.
Nice. I was going to say, we're coming into sunflower season.
Yeah.
That's actually
I have a friend in the States who has a little farm, and he has a 12-foot sunflower. And this guy is literally 6'6", and he stands under it. He looks like a normal sized guy. But this guy's huge, and he's got these huge sunflowers that tower over him, and they're beautiful.
That's wild. It's fun too because there's so much there's such a variety throughout the year. And so one of our friends that was meant to get married in June, she actually moved her wedding to January in hopes that she could have, more people and maybe more natural wedding, depending on, what the regulations are then. But her flower bouquet completely changes, which is something I would have never thought of. So I think for her original wedding date, they all kind of chipped in, the bridesmaids had chipped in and got her, her original bouquet to have for that week, the original week, we'll call it. So that was a really cute idea.
Wow, that is such a cute idea.
Yeah, because now it's going to be a completely new set of. That's such a wonderful industry to be in, and that's actually one of the things we're thinking of doing is textile, mixed media. We can press flowers. I might post something on it on our Instagram in the upcoming week. How you can press flowers quite easily, and you can even use a microwave. I've seen. Although I usually use the Argos catalog, and I saw that they're retiring the Argos catalog. I'm like, that's perfect for my flower pressing. Have you ever picked up an Argos catalog and tried to walk home with it? And it's it's 20 kilo.
I've got kids to do that. They carry it home.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Oh, that's funny.
I've actually learned that you can dry flowers and keep their color by putting them in a container full of salt. And if you put the flower in, the flower in the container and then fill it up completely and cover it with salt and leave it for a week or so, then when you pull the flower out, all the moisture's been drawn out because of the salt, but it holds its color and its shape and the petals and stuff. It's beautiful.
That's nice. Yeah. Well, I think so much that we do comes from, the inspiration of where we are. Even when we were in Donegal the last weekend, I was thinking, I kept taking pictures the whole time, and I try to be really hands-off phone, no internet where I can be, but it's so tempting. That's a picture. That is a painting right there. Oh my gosh, that over there, that's a painting. So I'm I have about 40 painting pictures to send to you and the team just to kind of get a sense for it. So
yeah, just to finish up with this painting, you can use your little black brush as we were chatting and just add some black dots in the middle of your flowers, and then that's the finished painting. Sign it and you are done with this beautiful, beautiful painting.
It's so nice. I love this. Now, as we're going through kind of, like I was saying, it's done from Paint by the Pints perspective, but if there's something that you're kind of interested in adding, like I was saying, I have become obsessed with my bike. I funnily enough, I got my kind of into cycling right after Christmas. I had purchased a bike and I thought to myself, I hope I use it. You know how many things you have in your house and you're like, I used it once. That was a great time, But with this, I really was I really want to try. And I started taking it out, especially when lockdown happened. Right. I mean, every day. And so now I'm okay, looking at this painting, you could add stacks of hay. You could put a turf shed in. I'd say anyone in the west of Ireland is putting a turf shed in this painting. And then I'd put a bike on the side of my house for sure, just to make it your own. It's all about making it what you like and kind of making it fun. So it's nice. Yeah. What will we paint next time? That's the question, guys. You have to let us know. There's endless options.
That is a great question.
Yeah. What do you think, Jill? Any ideas?
I don't know.
We'll have to think.
I can't think of a spot.
I know. Well, we did have to reschedule our flamingo event that we did because we had quite a few. We had a scheduling conflict, so we could always do the flamingo again. We got a lot of requests for that. I would say we can also do a few more staycation type photos. There's so many, even the beaches. Oh, there's so many beaches in Galway and just everywhere. Dublin, even up in Dublin, what's it called? Even Bull Island or Hove, they have such nice things. We did drive past Pogue, open a new place in Hove, and the line
I saw that.
was out the door.
I was so excited for that.
Yeah.
I'm not going in that line, but I'm so happy for that.
It was so funny. So I was it was a Tuesday at, I want to say 10:30 or whatever, 9:30, something like that. And it wasn't even it was like a random day of the week, and I figured, oh, everyone will be working and blah blah blah. And we get there, and the queue was literally out the door, spreading. Kind of people are trying to like socially distance onto the curb, and I was like, fair play to them. That's amazing. And they just started taking reservations for dinner because they don't even. It's just walk in for brunch. So that's so cool to see. And if you're obsessed like I am with like aesthetics of things, they sell their like, you can buy their water jug or you can buy like their mug. And like if you're like me, I just want like 2 amazing mugs and that's it. And I just go between cleaning those 2 and like my tea has to be in one or the other. So you can get your favorite mug from them as well when you're there, which is kind of cool. And the other thing is our other artist, Allie, who a few of you have met if you've done private events with us. She went to the Guinness grand opening 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now. And it was incredible. Have you seen the pictures? They have those pods now, like a beer garden pod. It's so cool. Yeah, it's it's hard to describe. Like when you walk into Open Gate, if you've ever been to our event, normally it's just Mark, our awesome Mark that stands there, gives the guest list, gives you your token for your flight of beer. But this time it's like you walk in, they have all these pods. You can either sit in it with a group or you can close the doors if it's like cold, windy, or if you're, I guess, on a date.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. I'm thinking like an eggshell type pod, but it's like a little
hut nearly. It's fancy. It's nice. I was really impressed. So I was like, they've done it really well. So we're really excited to get over there and kind of check out the pods and all that. And they have so many beers on draft, so we'll have to check that out too. But we did a check-in with our venues this week, and like I said, we have some exciting news coming up in the next 2 weeks. We'll have our calendar up and ready for you all. What helps us is let us know what you're interested in. So, for example, we had people saying like, we really want our Galway events back, or our Cork events back, or our Mayo events back, and of course Dublin. So let us know where you are and what events you're looking for, what venue you're looking for, and we are working very hard behind the scenes to make it all happen for you. So this is it's all for you guys. So thank you very much. And I want to say a special thanks tonight to those who bought a supporter ticket for tonight's event. It allows us to do what we do. So thank you so much, because we want these to be, either very low cost or completely free events so that you guys can kind of keep entertained and have a new hobby going on. Like always, if you need anything, reach out to us. We have our art kits up on paintbythepints.com. You can now get it with all sorts of wonderful wine. We sent out loads of that famous new rosé. So I think it was Whispering Angels, something like that. So very, very exciting. Whatever you're looking for, come to us. We'll help you. So we'll be back 2 Fridays from now, not next Friday because we're busy with a few private events, but the following Friday we're back with a public event just like this. Let us know what you want to paint. We'll be kind of going through our pictures and we'll pick something exciting. So without further ado, anything else to add, Jill?
It's my birthday today.
Happy birthday! Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. So Jill's turned 21 and we got to go celebrate. We'll have our rosé offline, so you'll all have to send in messages to say a very happy birthday to Jill. This is very exciting. Say happy 21st birthday.
I love the attention.
Yes. Good. Oh, that's so exciting. Yes. Well, we have to go and we have to celebrate Jill's birthday, and we will talk to you guys in 2 weeks. So if you need anything, get in touch and we'll be talking to you soon. Thanks so much. Have a happy Friday.
Bye.